Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a world of absolute flawless fantasy. I mean, when we look at luxury weddings, what we see is the perfect dress, the stunning floral arrangements, and just this effortless romance. But behind that polished, picture-perfect facade, there is an incredibly grueling, high-stakes reality. So we're going to look directly at our sources to uncover what it actually takes to pull off these monumental events and what that ultimately means for the people executing them behind the scenes. As our source material perfectly puts it, there are no limits when it comes to wedding prices today. And they're not kidding. We are looking at a massive billion-dollar business that is entirely fueled by superlatives. It's an industry where couples want to go all out, treat themselves, and where the word budget often takes a complete backseat to the word perfect. Get a load of this number, 30,000 euros. Yeah, according to our source, that was the cost of a single luxury wedding dress for just one client. And that really is the macro-level reality of this industry. Clients are incredibly willing to invest staggering amounts of money to ensure their special day looks exactly like the vision they've had in their heads for years, which, as you can imagine, sets an impossibly high bar for the vendors hired to actually deliver it. Let's dive right into Section 1, Designing the Disney Dream. To really grasp how this fantasy is built, we're looking at a specific case study from the source, Cindy and Dominic. These guys didn't just want a nice party, they wanted a full-on, extravagant Cinderella-themed wedding. We're talking a literal wedding carriage sourced straight from a film studio in Nuremberg. And the sheer scale of their venue was just absurd. That number 3, it represents the castles. Not one, but 3 castles sitting side by side in a park. The bride gets ready in one, and the events happen across the others. It really highlights the massive, sprawling footprint these events can require. And that massive scale extends right down to the microscopic details. Every single table at the reception featured a highly specific, totally immersive Disney theme. The planner's perfectionism is on full display here. Cinderella had the glass slipper, Rapunzel featured a tall glass vase with a long cascading braid inside, and they even had delicate ice crystals hanging from the stands for Frozen, alongside beautifully designed tables dedicated to the Lion King and Tarzan. The goal was for guests to walk in and instantly recognize exactly where they were sitting without it feeling like, a tacky children's party. But here's the catch. Even the absolute most perfect plans are at the mercy of human behavior. For this wedding, they originally planned for 70 guests. But 2 weeks before the date, they faced severe last-minute cancellations, dropping down to just 49 attendees. And the crucial takeaway here is the financial risk. When 21 people cancel at the absolute last minute, the couple is still stuck with the bill. The food, the shuttles, the rentals, they've all already been ordered and paid for. Which brilliantly illustrates another super common dynamic in the planning process, the total disconnect between the couple. While the bride is heavily focused on achieving this subtle shimmer with iridescent plates to match her Disney vision, the groom's reality is often much more hands-off. Planners actually note that men might have a great imagination for the wedding car, but for the decor, their attitude is frequently, "That's your thing, you girls just take care of it." This actually leads to planning meetings where the groom isn't even present. All right, let's circle back to Cindy's vision, because pulling it off required some seriously heavy lifting. Literally, 18 kilos. That was the weight of Cindy's massive wedding dress. Just imagine standing in the heat, doing a photo shoot, and trying to look perfectly relaxed while essentially wearing 2 full cases of beer all day long. Honestly, it's a tremendous physical feat just to put the gown on. And because that first 18-kilo dress was simply too heavy to survive the entire day in, the planner advised getting a backup. But the second dress she bought had a massive train that made dancing practically impossible. So Cindy ultimately ended up buying 3 separate wedding dresses just to navigate the physical demands of her own wedding day. So let's move on to Section 2, Behind the Glamour. We've seen the luxury the couple gets to experience, but the reality for the vendors demands an immense physical toll. To survive, they have to be prepared for absolutely anything. This emergency kit is kind of overwhelming, right? Dental floss, nausea pills, gardening shears? But this kit is absolutely essential. Get this, at the pre-wedding event for this very wedding, the bride's zipper completely broke. It was wide open and totally unfixable. The planner used her kit to literally sew the bride into her dress, stitching the zipper completely shut just so she could make it through the night. On the big day itself, the suspense is just constant. Setup begins at 7 a.m. sharp because, venues charge by the hour. Bridal styling starts at 7:30. But then, by 12:45 p.m., the girl's limo is a half hour late.
Meanwhile, the planner is frantically trying to ignore the weather apps while just praying for the sun to break through by 3 p.m. It requires vendors to be highly adaptable and ready to push the whole schedule back at a moment's notice.
Which brings us right into Section 3, crisis management. Because despite a year and a half to 2 years of careful, meticulous planning, logistical nightmares inevitably pop up. The execution phase is where the rubber meets the road, and the margin for error is absolutely zero. So why do vendors pack 15 backup chairs? Because they are transporting all the tables, linens, and chairs across hundreds of kilometers from Berlin to Dresden. If they get there and a chair is broken, they can't exactly just run back to storage. There are no second chances. They have to over-prepare and pack extras of everything, right down to the very screws that hold the decor together. Speaking of brilliant logistical workarounds, you've got to hear about this industry secret, the concept cake. It's a massive, beautiful wedding cake where the bottom tiers are entirely made out of styrofoam. Only the very top layer is real cake. This perfectly preserves the grand visual illusion of a towering, expensive cake for the photos while saving a massive amount of money and stress on transportation logistics. But honestly, even a fake cake causes real drama. It's a frantic behind-the-scenes scramble. You roll in the display cake, the couple cuts the real top tier to all the applause, and then you quickly roll it back to the kitchen. But in our source material, once the cake was in the back, the vendors actually started arguing over whose job it was to take the pre-cut slices out of the fridge and plate them. It's this chaotic scramble hidden just out of sight of the guests.
All right, let's wrap things up with Section 4, the magical payoff.
So after all the broken zippers, the literal heavy lifting, and the kitchen arguments, why do they even do it? While amidst all the wild extravagance, there are profoundly human moments that ground all the spending in deep emotion. Reserving empty seats in the front row is a detail planners note couples often use to honor deceased loved ones, hoping they can look down from heaven and be part of the day in spirit. It's a deeply touching detail that reminds us what all of this pageantry is actually celebrating.
And it's exactly that emotional connection that drives the vendors. As one planner beautifully put it, if I get blisters, so be it. Today is all about them. By Sunday, their legs ache, their arms hurt, and they are completely exhausted from being on their feet. But despite the grueling exhaustion, the physical pain, and the sheer stress of managing a billion-dollar illusion, making a childhood dream come true for a couple makes the job deeply fulfilling for the people behind the scenes.
Which leaves us with one final thought to ponder today. Consider the true price of perfection. We've seen the 18-kilo dresses, the hidden styrofoam cakes, and the exhausted vendors. Is the staggering financial cost and the hidden physical and emotional toll ultimately worth it to create just one day of flawless fantasy? It's a fascinating industry built on love, for sure, but it is fueled by relentless hard work.